Hi everyone, my name is Jacqueline Beck. I'm a junior at Bloomsburg. I'm a nursing major, and this semester for my presentation I decided to look into the Zika virus and its impact on the world politically and health-wise. So what is the Zika virus, just to begin? Zika is a virus that has popped up in the world in the last year or so, and it currently has no vaccine and we don't have a cure for it. The symptoms itself of the virus are pretty mild. They last 2 to 7 days and just include things like fever, muscle joint pain, headaches, stuff like that. And it most commonly spreads from the bite of an infected mosquito, but that's not the only mode of transmission that can occur. It can be spread through sex, through blood transfusion, and most importantly, it can spread from a pregnant woman to her baby. So when the Zika virus passes from a pregnant woman to the fetus that she's carrying, major birth defects can occur, and these defects are most commonly the microencephaly, which means that the baby's head is just much smaller in size than normal, which is indicating that the brain is smaller than normal and has lots of implications that are not good for the baby. And other defects that could occur could include other brain defects, eye defects, hearing deficits, and impaired growth of the baby. And interestingly enough, Zika can actually trigger Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is another neurological disease. So anyone who comes in contact with the Zika virus might end up having symptoms of Guillain-Barré, which is again just another neurological disease that could occur. So reported outbreaks of Zika have been reported throughout most of South America, many of the countries of South America. India has had reported outbreaks, parts of Africa, especially Central Africa, in the middle of Africa, and in Mexico. But there's also been reported cases in 2 of the states of the United States of America, which are Texas and Florida. And the advice for individuals who become infected with the Zika virus for treatment is pretty much just to drink plenty of fluid, get a lot of rest, and they can treat the symptoms of pain and fever with common over-the-counter medications such as Tylenol, ibuprofen, things like that. So as I said previously, the Zika virus doesn't currently have a treatment, and we don't have any vaccine to prevent it prophylactically. So the prevention of Zika is really to prevent individuals from being bit by mosquitoes who are infected with the Zika virus. So for individuals in areas who have been affected by Zika, or anyone traveling to an area affected by Zika, the best way to prevent the spread would be to prevent themselves from obtaining mosquito bites by wearing long sleeve shirts, long pants, using insect repellent, and if an individual in the area sleeps in a house with air conditioning, that's not a problem. They can close the doors, kind of keep the mosquitoes out. But if they don't live in a house with air conditioning and it's an area where it can get hot, especially in the summertime, then if windows have to be open and doors have to be open, then they might consider sleeping under a mosquito net to prevent any mosquito bites from occurring during the evening. And prevention of the Zika virus via sexual intercourse would be prevented by using condoms or by practicing abstinence if your partner has recently traveled to an area of Zika where it has been reported, or if there's a chance you could get pregnant and the partner has been traveling, not a good idea, should abstain. And pregnant women are advised to not travel to areas where the Zika virus has been reported. So the reason that the Zika virus is really such a big deal is because there's no treatment, there's no prevention via a vaccine. So this can really spread very quickly from mosquitoes who are infected if individuals are having sexual intercourse with someone else who is infected by Zika. And if you look at the areas where Zika has popped up, it went from South America, and then you see it in India, you see it in Africa, you see it in Mexico, and it's popped into the United States. So you can see that the spread of Zika has gone worldwide. So that's really why it's such a big problem. So just the fact that it's frequently carried by mosquitoes, it's difficult to control, and it can be difficult to prevent, since the only prevention is really to prevent from mosquito bites or to abstain from contracting the disease via sexual intercourse or blood transfusions. And another reason it's such a big deal is because of where the outbreaks occurred. This past summer, the Olympics were held in Rio, in Brazil, which was an area that was noted to have a Zika outbreak. And so many people were really cautious about whether or not they were going to attend the Olympics, and some athletes actually chose not to compete there due to the risk of Zika. And so that really had an impact on that area's economic growth. And pretty much anywhere where the Zika virus had noted an outbreak, tourism is a big problem, especially if it's a popular tourist area and all of a sudden people are afraid to go visit there because of the Zika virus. That's really going to have an impact on the area's economic well-being. So the impact on Zika in world politics really comes down to economics and money, because the World Bank estimated that the Zika virus would cost the world around $3.5 billion during the year of 2016. And the way that they came up with this number is by actually adding up the costs of 4 different things. So they looked at direct outlays, lost productivity, loss from death, and impact of avoidance. So what they mean by cost of direct outlays is the direct outlay is the cost of fighting the disease, fighting the Zika virus, by hiring doctors and nurses, by looking into new drugs, new medications, trying to create a vaccine, all of that monetary cost. And most of the direct outlay from the Zika virus went to controlling the mosquito population, trying to minimize the mosquito population because that was the primary mode of transmission. Then they also had to look at lost productivity, which basically just means that when people get sick with this virus, they're going to miss work, maybe for a week, maybe more, or maybe even if they continue to keep working, they're not going to be as productive when they're working. So that's going to have an effect on the company, their employer. It's going to cost them money. There's also the loss from death, which means that they have to, they put a monetary value on a person's life, which when they die is lost. So then if you have people dying from the Zika virus, then obviously that's going to add up. And the last thing was the impact of avoidance, which is really the big contributor to this huge number, is because, as I talked about in the last slide, people are afraid to go to these areas. So there's a decrease in tourism. So that's going to impact the area's economic growth and development, and that's going to be a big contributor to this number. And this $3.5 billion, the funds that they had to get to pay for the Zika virus came from a variety of different countries: Mexico, Cuba, DR, Brazil, Argentina, Jamaica, Belize, and more. So it's really, the Zika really had an impact on the entire world in that it spread to the entire world. We're still trying to figure out what to do about it. People are still cautious about traveling to these areas, and because of that, you have a big economic impact when it comes to money worldwide. So these are a couple of the different websites, one and an article that I used to find some of my information for throughout this presentation. Thank you for listening.